What comes to mind when you hear dun 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 dun? Now, depending on when you were born, maybe Vanilla Ice, or Under Pressure by Queen, or maybe even Happy Feet. These three all feature the same bass line, sampled and remixed into something new over and over again. Is that creativity? My name is Brian. I run an ad agency and an AI startup. Whenever I tell people I'm in advertising, one of the first things they say is, "Oh, you must come up with slogans, logos, TV commercials, just like Mad Men, right?" Oh, how I wish that was true. I'm not that cool. Those characters are the creative type of advertisers. I'm the analytical type. My colleagues that are creatives, and the show actually depicts them very well, they deal with beautiful words and ideas. I deal with numbers and spreadsheets. Lots and lots of spreadsheets. Now, to my credit, though, I have moments of inspired creativity. Well, sort of. I just take old campaigns that I've read about in publications and online, I remix it, I build upon it. I create something new that caters to my clients' needs. Is that creativity? I think the creative process involves taking inspiration from what's been done before and building upon it in a new and inspiring way. As Ludwig, a famous streamer and YouTuber, would put it, do the yoink and twist. Take something that's been done before and put your own twist on it. Throughout history, we see many famous artists take inspiration from and even copy older masterpieces over and over again. Let me take you back to the Renaissance. The year is 1499. Michelangelo had just finished carving the Madonna della Pieta. It depicts the Virgin Mary holding a lifeless Jesus. It's his finest work and the only piece he's ever signed. 55 years later, he creates another Pieta, but this time, he includes an Easter egg. One of the figures is a self-portrait. This sculpture, called the Deposition, was never finished. Some even speculate that he tried to destroy it because he was so unhappy with it. Despite the contrast, completed, proud, unfinished, disappointment. These two sculptures serve as inspiration for thousands, if not millions, inspiring one Caravaggio, who paints the Atonement of Christ. Jesus' pose in this painting is directly inspired by the Madonna della Pieta. Now, if you look closely, there is a secret to this painting. Caravaggio transposed Michelangelo's self-portrait into his painting. Caravaggio took inspiration from and copied elements from two different sculptures and incorporated into his work. This is my favorite example of taking inspiration from and remixing what's been done before and creating something new. Heck, even Picasso has done it. His painting, Woman with a Book, is inspired by another one called Madame Mortessier. You guys see the semblance, right? Yeah. Now, we can all agree that these are definitely examples of creativity. So, what is creativity? And is AI creative? Creative, the adjective, is defined as having qualities of something that is created rather than imitated. Created, not imitated. Generative AI, specifically text-based transformers, work similarly to your phone's keyboard. The bee is asleep, but I'm not sure if you are you, doing the same time as the first time he's asked for it. Well, that bizarre sentence was composed of words my iPhone predicts I want to write, imitating my past writing behavior. And for those who are curious why the bee is asleep, that's our nickname for our 2-year-old because he's tiny and his middle name is Benjamin. Now, is this sentence a piece of creative writing? I mean, on a philosophical level, it can be, but really it's just a word soup of probabilities. We've seen cases of people using generative AI to write poems, blog posts, even movie scripts. And at first blush, they sound and read great because AI can mimic creativity very well. But all it is really is imitating what someone is likely to write next in the existing sequence of words under the framework of a poem, a blog post, a movie script. At the end of the day, it still requires human input. Editing, polishing, well, in some cases, lots of editing and polishing, to get it to the point that is presentable as a piece of creative work. So, to say generative AI is creative in of itself, or it can outright replace creatives, is like saying a pencil, a paintbrush, Michelangelo's chisel, is creative. Or it's like saying the tools can replace the artist. Then you may ask, can AI make me creative? Let me tell you a story. I'd like to think I'm quite gifted with numbers. Geometry, algebra, calculus all came very easily to me. But it wasn't until second year at UT Scarborough that I struggled with my first math-related course. It was statistics. No matter how hard I studied the formulas or practiced the problem sets, I just couldn't wrap my head around how the formulas worked or how they applied to the problems I was trying to solve. And during exams, having a calculator didn't solve my inability to grasp the concepts. A calculator didn't magically make me good at statistics. I just didn't have a foundation in statistics, and I lacked the fundamentals. And along the same vein, generative AI can theoretically write a movie script, but it takes skills, talent, experience to weave a narrative that is compelling and speaks to the audience. It takes a certain understanding to write good characters. What are their motivations? How to convey those motivations through the dialogue, the settings, the themes. And all balancing that with pacing that keeps the story engaging and interesting. Generative AI can predict with a fair amount of accuracy what the next word of a movie script is likely to be. But it can't write what it should be. You still need a fundamental understanding of the art before you can jump in to use the tools, just like how a calculator will not magically solve every math problem in front of you. You still need to know how to apply the formulas to the problems. So, answering our original question, is AI creative? No. It imitates creativity very well. And no, it's not going to make you creative. So then, what can AI do? In Michelangelo's time, it may take us a lifetime of travel and experiences to find that spark of inspiration for our work. The internet, the smartphone, brought a wealth of information at our fingertips. And generative AI has completely changed how we access, synthesize, and remix all that's been done before to become inspiration for our work. And not to mention the speed. It's completely changed the creative process, what I call the mechanics of creativity. Let's see, what's a good analogy here? Let's go back to the calculator for a second. It wasn't always the case that students had access to a calculator to do their work. It was very frowned upon in the 60s and the 70s, and it wasn't until the mid-70s that calculators entered the classroom. There were ethical and philosophical debates on the use of calculators in the classroom. And some even thought there'd be rampant cheating on assignments. Sound familiar? I'd like to think that the widespread adoption of the calculator in the classroom enabled us to focus on a higher order of problem solving. Take pi, for example. A weird flex that mathematicians had was to calculate pi by hand with more and more digits and more accuracy using Archimedes' method called bisecting polygons. The more sides of the polygon you'd have, the more accurate you get with pi. We got to the point of a polygon with more than 2 to the power of 62 sides and 38 digits of pi. But when I ask you to do calculations with pi nowadays, you pull out a calculator, you press a button. You don't pull out a ream of paper and start bisecting polygons. You've got better things to do. You can focus on a higher order of problem solving instead of the mundane manual calculations. Imagine what you can achieve when you're no longer bound by the cumbersome mechanics of your art. Generative AI has unlocked a brand new field of creativity for me. Remember how I said this tool is great at predicting what comes next? All the easier if it follows a well-defined structure and there's certain patterns to it, say something like JavaScript. Now, I'm not a programmer, but I have an understanding of the logic and the syntax of JavaScript. Armed with this basic understanding, along with this tool, I'm able to write custom scripts for me and my clients to automate away the mundane work of managing Google Ads. I let the computer focus on what they're best at, complex and rapid calculations, and I can focus on higher order problems and provide more value to my clients. What if generative AI can do the same for you? Maybe it would have taken you close to a decade to write that novel that you've always had, always dreamt of. Maybe a couple months here to create the characters, their background. Half a year there to build the world, do research, create conflict for your characters. And then maybe years upon years of writing the drafts, loving the drafts, and hating the drafts. All of this can be sped up with AI. Maybe it would have taken you days and weeks to get that final client approval on that storyboard for that video you're about to shoot. But now you can generate 2, 3, 5 storyboards, all with different styles and tone in a matter of minutes. That dance with the client, the back and forth to get that approval, may now only take hours because you can quickly iterate through what your client doesn't want to arrive at what they do want. Michelangelo said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." What artistic visions do you have locked away in that block of marble? What will you do to unleash and set free your creativity? What will your masterpiece be? Who will you inspire?